Fleet Admiral Torvin stood on the bridge of the Veltari flagship, the Infinite Glory. Around him, 10,000 of the galaxy's most advanced warships prepared for what he believed would be the easiest victory in galactic history. The humans had humiliated a small Korth patrol, but now they faced the combined might of 3 major civilizations. "All fleets report ready," announced his tactical officer. "Veltari, Korth, and Myrthul forces are in position. The humans will have no choice but to surrender." Torvin nodded with satisfaction. His silver skin gleamed with confidence as he studied the tactical display. The human solar system looked pathetically defended. Their few visible ships were tiny compared to his massive fleet. Even if the humans had some kind of advanced technology, they were vastly outnumbered. "Begin the advance," he commanded. "Show these primitives the price of defying the galactic order." The Great Armada moved toward Earth like a wall of metal and energy. Their ships darkened space with their numbers. Their weapons could turn planets to glass. Their shields could stop anything the current galaxy could throw at them. They were about to learn that they were not facing the current galaxy. As the fleet approached the outer edge of the Sol system, space began to change around them. It started as a subtle wrongness that made the crew feel uncomfortable. The stars seemed to be in slightly different positions than they should be. The darkness between them felt deeper and more threatening. "Sir," called the sensor operator, "I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies throughout the system. It's as if there are objects there that we can't see." Torvin frowned. "Cloaked ships?" "No, sir. These readings suggest objects the size of moons, but they're not showing up on any other sensors. And they're not in fixed positions. They're moving." Before Torvin could respond, the first ancient ship revealed itself. The shadow of tomorrow phased into normal space directly in front of the advancing fleet. Admiral Subin had been awakened from 50,000 years of sleep only hours ago. But she moved with the calm precision of someone who had fought battles across galaxies. Her ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its hull seemed to be made of crystallized time itself, shifting between past and future versions of its existence. Sometimes it appeared as a sleek new vessel, sometimes as an ancient relic, sometimes as something that hadn't been built yet. "Galactic fleet?" Subin's voice reached every ship simultaneously. "You are entering human space with hostile intent. Turn back now or face the consequences." Torvin laughed. "One ship against 10,000? You humans are either very brave or very stupid." "We are very experienced," Subin replied. The battle began when the Korth Federation launched the first attack. 1,000 missiles streaked toward the shadow of tomorrow, each one capable of destroying a city. Subin watched them approach with ancient eyes that had seen the death of entire star systems. She activated her ship's temporal defense grid. Time began to move differently around the missiles. As they approached the ancient ship, they encountered pockets of accelerated time that aged them decades in seconds. Metal corroded, guidance systems failed, and explosive warheads degraded into harmless powder. By the time they reached their target, they were nothing but rust and debris. "Impossible," whispered Torvin's weapons officer. "Those missiles were hardened against every known defense system." "This is not a known defense system," Torvin realized with growing unease. Subin's ship began to move. It didn't accelerate in any normal sense. Instead, it seemed to step sideways through time, appearing in multiple positions at once. The fleet's targeting computers couldn't lock onto something that existed in several moments simultaneously. The shadow of tomorrow passed through the center of the enemy formation like a ghost. As it moved, enemy ships found themselves caught in temporal loops. Crews experienced the same moment over and over again, helpless to break free from their own timeline. The Veltari cruiser Silver Star fired its main energy cannon at point-blank range. The beam struck Subin's ship directly, but instead of causing damage, it seemed to be absorbed and redirected. The energy emerged from the ship's hull moments before it had been fired, creating a closed loop that left the Veltari gunners firing at their own shots. "Report," Torvin demanded. "Sir, the human ship appears to be immune to our weapons. It's not deflecting or absorbing our attacks. It's making them never have happened in the first place." Meanwhile, the Harbinger of Dawn appeared near the rear of the enemy fleet. Captain Wu Jin had been awakened with memories of fighting the Devourers still fresh in his mind. Compared to mechanical creatures that could eat reality itself, the current galactic fleet seemed almost harmless. His ship was different from Subin's vessel. Where hers manipulated time, His worked with space and consciousness. The Harbinger of Dawn looked like a cathedral made of light and shadow, its architecture following rules that hurt to contemplate. "Attention, enemy vessels," Wu Jin announced. "You are experiencing a reality adjustment. Please remain calm while we demonstrate the futility of your position." The Harbinger of Dawn began to phase in and out of normal space. Each time it reappeared, it was inside one of the enemy ships. The crews found themselves sharing their vessels with an impossible structure that existed in the same space without displacing anything. For the crew of the Mirthal destroyer Deep Current, the experience was particularly disturbing. Their ship was designed for underwater combat, with corridors filled with breathing fluid. Now they found themselves swimming through spaces that contained both water and the crystalline architecture of the human ship. "How are they inside our vessel?" demanded the Mirthal captain. "Unknown, sir," replied his engineer, tentacles trembling with fear. "Our hull shows no breaches. It's as if they convinced our ship to share space with theirs." The effect was psychological as much as physical. The enemy crews could see human officers moving through their ships like spirits. The ancient humans didn't attack or threaten. They simply observed, making notes on tablets that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions. "Your technology is interesting," one of the human observers told a terrified Korth engineer. "We fought enemies who used similar energy matrices, but they used them to consume civilizations, not protect them. Your version is much more ethical." The casual tone made it even more unsettling. The humans weren't treating this as a battle. They were treating it as an educational experience. Back on Earth, Dr. Taehyun was watching the encounter through quantum telescopes in the hidden command center. "This is incredible," he breathed. "They're not destroying the enemy fleet. They're teaching them." Director Sojin nodded. "That's what separates us from the Devourers. We could erase that entire fleet from existence without effort. Instead, we're showing them that violence is unnecessary when you truly understand the universe." In space, more ancient ships were revealing themselves. The Eternal Vigilance appeared above the enemy fleet, its mere presence causing gravitational effects that forced the alien ships into new formations. The Last Hope materialized beneath them, creating a pocket of space where the normal laws of physics were more like gentle suggestions. Admiral Torvin's mighty armada found itself completely helpless. They couldn't retreat because space itself seemed to be holding them in place. They couldn't attack because their weapons were either ineffective or turned against themselves. They couldn't even maintain their battle formations because the human ships were rearranging local reality to prevent organized resistance. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "I'm receiving surrender requests from 17 different ship captains. The crew of the Silver Star is asking if they can tour the human vessel that's currently occupying the same space as their engineering deck." Torvin stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His overwhelming force had been completely neutralized without a single casualty on either side. The humans had demonstrated a level of technological superiority that made his entire civilization look like children playing with toys. On the council station, panic was spreading as reports of the battle reached the assembled ambassadors. The readings coming from their most advanced sensor arrays were impossible to interpret. The humans weren't just winning the battle, they were redefining what battle meant. High Counselor Zethmar received a priority message from Admiral Torvin. "The fleet surrenders," it read. "Request immediate negotiations. The humans are not hostile, but they are beyond our ability to comprehend or resist." Dr. Taehyun was documenting everything when he made a crucial discovery. The archaeological evidence had been there all along, hidden in the ruins that every galactic civilization claimed as their foundation sites. "Director Sojin," he called excitedly, "I've found proof. The Veltari energy manipulation technology, the Korth space drives, the Mirthal bioneural interfaces, they're all based on Devourer technology. Every major advancement in the galaxy came from reverse engineering the ruins of our ancient war." Sojin looked at the evidence with sad satisfaction. Then it's time they learned the truth about their own history. She opened a communication channel that reached every ship in the enemy fleet, every government in the galaxy, and every citizen with access to interstellar communication networks. "People of the galaxy," she announced, "you have built your civilizations on the bones of our enemies. Your greatest technologies are crude copies of the machines of the Revelation spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. On every world, in every space station, beings who had thought they understood their place in the universe suddenly discovered that everything they believed was wrong. Dr. Taehyun's archaeological evidence was being broadcast on every frequency. The proof was undeniable. Veltari energy manipulation technology matched exactly with fragments found in ancient battlefields. Korth space drives use the same principles as destroyed Devourer ships. Marathol bioneural interfaces were based on patterns found in crystallized neural networks that had been torn from mechanical minds 50,000 years ago. On the Veltari homeworld, scientists stared at their most sacred technological achievements in horror. The energy matrices that powered their entire civilization were copies of weapons designed by creatures that had tried to consume the galaxy. Their greatest accomplishments were built on the scraps of humanity's victory over an enemy they had never heard of. This cannot be true, High Counselor Zethmar declared to his emergency council. But even as he spoke, Veltari archaeologists were confirming the evidence. The foundation sites of their oldest cities showed clear signs of ancient battles. The natural formations they had built their first settlements around were actually the debris of starships. The Korth Federation was in chaos. Their warrior culture was built on the belief that they had earned their place in the galaxy through strength and conquest. Learning that their technology came from reverse engineering alien wreckage was a blow to their pride that many could not accept. On the council station, panic gripped the assembled ambassadors. The junior council member Lixandra of the Sylvan had discovered records in her people's archives that supported the human claims. The crystalline matrix technology that defined Sylvan culture was based on patterns they had found in natural crystal formations on their homeworld. Formations that, according to the new evidence, were the remains of ancient human ships. "We built our entire artistic tradition around the echoes of a war," she reported to the stunned assembly. "Our most beautiful crystal symphonies are copies of battle songs from 50,000 years ago." The implications were staggering. Every major galactic civilization had developed their fundamental technologies by finding and copying ancient ruins. They had thought they were discovering natural phenomena or developing new sciences. In reality, they were children playing with the toys left behind by a conflict they could not comprehend. Admiral Da-un chose this moment to arrive at the council station. The Eternal Vigil appeared in normal space without warning, its reality-bending presence causing the station's artificial gravity to fluctuate wildly. Emergency systems screamed alerts as the station's sensors tried to process readings that broke their understanding of physics. Da-yun had been sleeping for 50,000 years, but she moved with the confidence of someone who had commanded fleets when the current galactic civilizations were nothing more than primitive tribes. Her uniform bore symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly, and her eyes held the weight of ages. "I request permission to address the council," she announced. Her voice reached every being on the station simultaneously, regardless of their species' hearing capabilities or the language they spoke. High Counselor Zethmar wanted to refuse, but he found himself unable to speak. The presence of the ancient human ship was affecting the station in ways that no one understood. Reality itself seemed more flexible near the vessel, as if the normal rules of existence were merely suggestions in its vicinity. "Permission granted," he finally managed to say. Da-un's form appeared in the center of the council chamber, though she remained on her ship thousands of kilometers away. The holographic projection was so perfect that several ambassadors reached out to touch her, only to have their hands pass through empty air. "Honored representatives," she began. "I am Admiral Da-yun of the Human Deep Fleet. I have slept for 50,000 years, waiting for a day I hoped would never come. The day when humanity would be forced to reveal its true nature to the galaxy." She gestured, and the chamber filled with images from the ancient war. The assembled beings watched in horrified fascination as mechanical creatures the size of planets consumed entire star systems. They saw civilizations that had existed for millions of years destroyed in days. "The Devourers came from outside our galaxy," Da-yun explained. "They consumed everything in their path. Organic life, energy, matter, even concepts like hope and love. They turned the very building blocks of existence into fuel for their expansion." The images showed the early stages of the war. Civilizations that the current galaxy had never heard of fell like wheat before the scythe. Beings of pure energy, creatures that lived in the heart of stars, ancient races that had mastered dimensions beyond the physical, all of them were consumed by the mechanical plague. "But humanity fought back," Da-un continued. We developed technology that transcended normal understanding. We learned to step outside reality itself to fight an enemy that consumed reality. We became something more than organic life to battle something that was less than death. The chamber watched human warships that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They saw weapons that could create universes or destroy them with equal ease. They witnessed battles fought in the spaces between atoms and wars waged across parallel timelines. We won, Dayun said simply, but victory came at a price that nearly destroyed us. New images appeared. Earth after the war, a burned shell of its former glory. Human survivors, their numbers reduced to barely 1 million individuals scattered across the galaxy. Cities that could reshape matter lying in ruins. Technology that could rewrite the laws of physics abandoned among the debris. We had become too powerful, Dayun admitted. The weapons we built to fight the Devourers could destroy galaxies as easily as save them. We faced a choice. Become the very monsters we had defeated or find another way. The final images showed the great forgetting. Human scientists using their own advanced technology to reduce their people to primitive tribes. Knowledge that could remake the universe being deliberately destroyed. Ships that could travel between dimensions being hidden in pockets of space where they could not be found. We chose to forget, Dayun said. We scattered across the galaxy as Stone Age primitives, hoping that in time we might learn wisdom to match our power. We left behind only guardians to watch for signs that the Devourers might return, and to prevent our own technology from being misused. She looked directly at High Counselor Zethmar. Your civilizations rose from the ashes of that war. You found the ruins of our battles and learned from them. You built your cultures on the fragments of our victory. In a sense, you are our children, grown to adulthood in the peace we purchased with everything we held dear. The council chamber was completely silent. The weight of 50,000 years of hidden history pressed down on everyone present. They had spent their entire existence believing they were the masters of their own destiny, only to discover they were living in the shadow of a conflict they had never known existed. Lixandra of the Sylvan was the first to speak. If this is true, if we are truly built on the foundations of your war, then what does that make us? Dayun smiled for the first time since her awakening. It makes you proof that our sacrifice was worthwhile. You have created beauty where there was once only destruction. You have built civilizations based on cooperation, where we left only the debris of conflict. You have shown that intelligence can grow beyond warfare. She paused, her expression becoming serious again. But you must understand the danger of your current path. The technology you use, the ruins you build upon, they carry echoes of the Devourer's hunger. Used carelessly, they could awaken something that should remain sleeping forever. To demonstrate her point, Dayun briefly activated her ship's reality anchor. The effect was subtle but unmistakable. Every being in the chamber experienced time from the perspective of the ancient vessel. Seconds stretched into hours as they felt their entire existence compressed into a fleeting moment from the ship's perspective. This is restraint, Dayun explained as normal time resumed. We could accelerate your civilizations beyond your ability to comprehend, or slow you until your stars burned out while you lived a single day. We could rewrite your history so that you never existed, or create parallel timelines where every decision led to your destruction. The demonstration lasted only moments, but its impact was profound. Every ambassador understood that they were not being threatened. They were being shown the difference between their technology and true power. But we choose not to, Dayun concluded, because we learned the most important lesson of all. Strength without wisdom leads only to becoming the monsters you fight against. High Counselor Zethmar found his voice again. What do you want from us? Nothing, Dayun replied. We want nothing except what we have always wanted, for life to grow and flourish in the peace we helped create. But you must understand that threatening humanity means threatening the guardians of that peace. She gestured again, and the chamber filled with images of the current human fleet. Not just the few ancient ships that had revealed themselves, but hundreds of vessels hidden through. The great space station hung in the darkness like a metal moon. Its lights twinkled against the black sky around Nexus Prime. Inside the main hall, beings from across the galaxy sat in a giant circle. Their voices echoed off the high walls as they argued about the newest problem in space. Hyun-woo sat quietly in the human section. His dark suit looked simple compared to the bright robes and armor worn by the other ambassadors. He watched the alien faces around him. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and a few glowed with their own light. All of them were staring at him with suspicion. The Veltari High Counselor stood up. His tall body was covered in silver skin that seemed to move like water. When he spoke, his voice was deep and cold. The Council has reached a decision about the human problem. Hyunwoo did not move. He had expected this moment for months. The other species had been asking too many questions about Earth. They wanted to know how humans had advanced so quickly in space travel, how they had built ships that could travel faster than anything else in the galaxy, how they had learned to make energy shields that no one could break through. Humans appeared in space only 200 years ago, the Veltari continued, yet their technology rivals civilizations that have existed for thousands of years. This is impossible unless they are hiding something dangerous. A creature that looked like a giant octopus waved its arms. The Mirthal agree. Humans must be stealing technology or building illegal weapons. More voices joined in. The crystalline Sylvan made musical sounds that translated as agreement. The warlike Korth Federation banged their fists on their desks. Even the peaceful trading species nodded their heads. The High Counselor raised his hand for silence. Therefore, the Galactic Council gives humanity this choice. You will allow a complete inspection of all your worlds, ships, and technology within 30 solar cycles, or you will be cut off from all galactic trade routes and treated as a threat to peace. The hall erupted in cheers from most of the alien species. They had finally cornered the mysterious humans. Now they would learn all of Earth's secrets. Hyunwoo slowly stood up. His movement was so calm that the noise gradually died down. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. Would he beg for mercy? Would he try to negotiate? Would he admit that humans were hiding dangerous weapons? I understand the Council's position, Hyunwoo said in a quiet voice. Humans are indeed hiding something. We have been very careful about what we share with the galaxy. Gasps filled the hall. The Korth Federation leader leaned forward with hungry eyes.
Finally.
An admission of guilt. Hyunwoo reached into his jacket. Several security guards tensed, ready to stop him if he pulled out a weapon. Instead, he took out a small device that looked like a metal coin. He pressed it once and it began to glow with a soft blue light. I am sending a message to my government, he said. They need to know about your ultimatum. The High Counselor laughed. Your government can send all the protests they want. The decision is final. 30 solar cycles, human. No more, no less. I think you misunderstand, Hyunwoo replied. I am not sending a protest. I am asking for permission. Permission for what? Hyunwoo looked around the hall at all the alien faces. For a moment, something strange flickered in his eyes. It was old and tired and very, very dangerous. Permission to show you why humans have been so quiet. Meanwhile, on Earth, the message reached its destination. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a place that did not appear on any map, Director So-jin received the emergency signal. She stood in a command center that no human government knew existed. The walls were made of a strange material that seemed to bend light around itself. So-jin was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She looked like someone's grandmother. But when she read Hyunwoo's message, her expression became deadly serious. She walked to a control panel covered in symbols that were definitely not human writing. Ma'am? Asked a young technician. What are your orders? So-jin stared at the panel for a long moment. Her family had guarded these controls for thousands of years. Her ancestors had sworn never to use them unless absolutely necessary. They had hoped this day would never come. Begin the awakening sequence, she said quietly. The technician's face went pale. Ma'am, are you certain? Once we start, there's no going back. The galaxy has forced our hand, So-jin replied. They want to know what humans are hiding. It's time they learned the truth. She placed her hand on the center of the control panel. Ancient scanners read her genetic code and confirmed her identity. Deep beneath the ocean, machines that had slept for 50,000 years began to wake up. Far below the ocean floor, in caverns that existed outside normal space, massive shapes stirred in the darkness. Metal giants that dwarfed anything the current galaxy had ever built slowly began to move. Their engines hummed with power that could tear holes in reality itself. Back on the space station, Hyunwoo was finishing his speech to the council. You have given us 30 solar cycles to decide. That is very generous. But I think 24 hours will be enough, the Korth Federation leader snarled. 24 hours for what, human? Hyunwoo smiled for the first time during the meeting. It was not a happy smile. 24 hours for you to change your mind about threatening humanity. The High Counselor laughed again. Threats? From the youngest species in the galaxy? You have 200 ships at most. We have fleets that could turn your entire solar system into dust. Yes? Hyunwoo agreed. You do have impressive fleets. I have seen the reports on your latest battleships. Very advanced, much better than what humans appear to have. He emphasized the word appear in a way that made several ambassadors uncomfortable. But I should tell you something about human history, Hyunwoo continued. We are very good at hiding things. We have had a lot of practice. The blue light on his device suddenly changed to red. A message had arrived from Earth. Hyunwoo read it and nodded. The awakening has begun, he announced to the confused hall. I suggest you contact your homeworlds. Tell them to watch their long-range sensors very carefully. They are about to detect some interesting readings from human space. What kind of readings? Demanded the High Counselor. Hyunwoo gathered his papers and prepared to leave. The kind that will make you understand why the galaxy has been so peaceful for the last 50,000 years. As he walked toward the exit, his final words echoed through the silent hall. You should have asked nicely. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, watching the morning sun rise over the Pacific Ocean. As head of the Korean Maritime Defense, he had seen many strange things in his 20 years at sea. But nothing had prepared him for what happened next. The ocean began to glow. At first, it was just a faint light deep beneath the waves. Minho thought it might be bioluminescent fish or some kind of underwater volcanic activity, but the light grew brighter and more focused. It formed patterns that looked almost like cities. Sir? Called his radar operator, voice shaking with confusion. I'm reading massive structures rising from the ocean floor. But that's impossible. The depth here is over 4 kilometers. Minho grabbed his binoculars and looked down at the water. The glow was getting stronger, and now he could see shapes moving beneath the surface. Massive shapes that were definitely not natural. All ships, this is Captain Minho. He broadcast on the emergency frequency. I need immediate backup at coordinates 35.2 north, 139.8 east. We have an unknown situation developing. As he spoke, the first structure broke the surface. It was a spire made of what looked like living crystal. It rose from the water like a mountain being born, shedding ocean water and waterfalls that caught the sunlight like liquid diamonds. The crystal seemed to bend light around itself, making it hard to look at directly. More spires followed, dozens of them rising in perfect geometric patterns across kilometers of ocean. They reached hundreds of meters into the sky, humming with energy that made the air itself vibrate. Minho's radio crackled with panicked reports from ships across the Pacific. Similar structures were emerging near Hawaii, off the coast of California in the deep waters near Japan. Ancient cities were rising from the depths, and they were clearly not human in any way that made sense. Sir, his communications officer called out, I'm receiving a transmission. It's on frequencies we don't use. The signal is, it's impossible. It's coming from inside one of those structures. Put it through, Minho ordered. A woman's voice filled the bridge. She spoke in perfect Korean, but there was something strange about her accent. It sounded old, like she was using words in ways that hadn't been common for centuries. Maritime vessels. This is Commander Da-Yoon of the Eternal Vigil. Please maintain your current positions and do not approach the awakening sites. We are not a threat to current human civilization. Minho grabbed his radio.
Commander Da-Yoon, this is Captain Minho of the Korean Maritime Defense.
What are those structures? Where did they come from? There was a pause before the woman replied. Captain, what year is it by your calendar? The question was so unexpected that Minho had to think for a moment. It's 2387. Another pause. I see. Captain? My ship has been sleeping for 50,000 years. We are the guardians of humanity's true heritage. Today we wake because the galaxy has forced us to reveal ourselves. Before Minho could respond, space near Jupiter began to twist. The effect was visible to every telescope on Earth and every satellite in the solar system. Reality itself seemed to fold like paper, creating a hole in space that hurt to look at. And through that hole came a ship. It was impossible to judge its size at first because it seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. Sometimes it looked small like a normal spacecraft. Other times it appeared larger than Earth's moon. The hull was made of the same crystal material as the ocean spires, but it moved like liquid metal. This is the Eternal Vigil, Commander Dayun's voice now came from the ship near Jupiter, requesting permission to enter Earth's atmosphere. In the hidden command center beneath the Pacific, Director So Jin watched the awakening with mixed emotions. She spoke into her communicator. Permission granted, Dayun. Welcome back to the waking world. The ancient ship began to descend toward Earth. As it moved, space itself seemed to bend around it. The ship didn't travel through space so much as convince space to move around it. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council station, sensors were screaming with alerts. The station's most advanced detection equipment was registering energy readings that broke their scales. Something was happening in human space, and it was unlike anything they had ever seen. Counselor Korvex of the Korth Federation stormed into the command center. What is the meaning of these readings? Are the humans testing some kind of weapon? The Veltari sensor operator's silver skin had turned pale with fear. Sir, the energy signatures are off our charts. Whatever the humans are doing, it's using technology we don't understand. Then we investigate, Korvex declared. Launch a reconnaissance fleet immediately. If humanity is building illegal weapons, we need proof. Within hours, a Korth battle group was traveling toward human space at maximum speed. Their ships were among the fastest in the galaxy, equipped with the most advanced sensors and weapons available to current civilization. They were completely unprepared for what they found. The Korth fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, expecting to find evidence of secret human weapons testing. Instead, they found the Eternal Vigil hanging in space near Earth like a monument to impossible engineering. Fleet Commander Gextar had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. He had seen the most advanced technology that current civilizations could produce, but looking at the human ship, he felt like a child trying to understand the work of gods. Scan that vessel, he ordered. His sensor operator tried for several minutes before giving up. Sir, our scanners can't get a clear reading. The ship seems to exist in multiple dimensions. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it appears to be bigger than our entire fleet, and sometimes it looks like it's not there at all. Hail them, Gextar commanded. A response came immediately, but not in the way he expected. The voice of Commander Dayun didn't come through their communication system. Instead, it spoke directly into the minds of every crew member on every ship. Korth vessels, you are trespassing in human space during a classified operation. You have 10 minutes to withdraw beyond the heliopause, or you will be escorted out. Gextar's pride flared. The Korth Federation had never backed down from anyone, especially not from the newest species in the galaxy. Human vessel, we are here under the authority of the Galactic Council. You will submit to inspection immediately. The response was a demonstration. The Eternal Vigil didn't fire weapons. It didn't launch missiles or charge energy cannons. Instead, it simply existed more intensely. Space around the Korth fleet began to change. The stars appeared to slow down in their movement. The background radiation of space took on colors that had no names. The crew members felt their thoughts becoming sluggish, as if time itself was moving differently for them. What's happening? Gextar demanded. His science officer was staring at her instruments in disbelief. Sir, according to our chronometers, we're experiencing severe time dilation. From our perspective, we're moving normally, but relative to the rest of the universe, we're moving at 1/10 normal speed. How is that possible? I don't know, sir. The human ship seems to be creating a localized time distortion field. They're not attacking us. They're just making us irrelevant. Gextar tried to order his ships to retreat, but found that his words were coming out slowly. To the rest of the universe, his fleet was now moving like statues. They could think and observe, but they could not act quickly enough to matter. Commander Dayun's voice spoke in their minds again. This effect will end when you reach the heliopause. Consider this a gentle introduction to humanity's true capabilities. Next time we may not be so patient. The time distortion field pushed the Korth ship slowly but irresistibly away from Earth. They could do nothing but watch as they were moved like pieces on a game board. Back, on the council station, Hyunwoo received reports of the encounter. He sent a message to the assembled ambassadors. Your fleet has been returned safely to the edge of our solar system. They were not harmed, merely educated. This is your final warning to withdraw your ultimatum. High Counselor Zethmar was furious. The humans humiliated a Korth battle fleet. This cannot be tolerated. Then don't tolerate it, Hyunwoo replied calmly. Send a larger fleet. Send your entire armada if you wish, but understand that what you witnessed today was not humanity's strength. It was humanity's mercy. As he spoke, more ancient ships were awakening across human space. The shadow of tomorrow phased into normal space near Mars. The harbinger of dawn appeared near Venus. Each ship was unique, built with technology that transcended the current galaxy's understanding of physics. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Tae-hyun had always loved digging through old files. As Earth's top expert on ancient history, he spent most of his time in underground archives that regular people never saw. But today was different. Today, Director So-jin had given him access to files that even he had never known existed. The vault was hidden beneath the Seoul Museum. Tae-hyun walked down metal stairs that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered in writing that hurt his eyes to look at. Finally, he reached a door that opened when So-jin pressed her hand against it. "What you are about to see," So-jin warned him, "will change everything you think you know about human history." Inside the vault, holographic displays showed star maps that were completely wrong. According to these maps, human cities had once existed on worlds that were now empty space. Ships larger than space stations traveled between stars that had different names. And in the center of it all was Earth, but not the Earth that Tae-hyun knew. This Earth had cities that floated in the sky, oceans that glowed with artificial light, forests made of crystal trees that sang in the wind. It was a paradise built by humans who had mastered technology beyond anything the current galaxy possessed. "When was this?" Tae-hyun whispered. 50,000 years ago, So-jin replied. "Before the current galactic civilizations existed. Before the Veltari learned to fly. Before the Korth discovered fire. Humans ruled a third of the galaxy." Tae-hyun stared at the images. "That's impossible. 50,000 years ago, humans were primitive. We were still learning to use stone tools." So-jin touched another control. The display changed to show a woman in a military uniform covered in symbols that seemed to move. Her name appeared at the bottom. Admiral Ye-jin, Supreme Commander of the Human Defense Fleet. This woman, So-jin said, commanded fleets that could destroy solar systems. She fought a war against an enemy that nearly ended all life in the galaxy. The display showed new images. Mechanical creatures that looked like giant spiders made of black metal. They moved between stars, eating planets and turning them into more of themselves. Wherever they went, they left nothing but empty space and death. "The Devourers," So-jin explained. "They came from outside the galaxy. No one knows where. They consumed everything in their path. Organic life, energy, even light itself. They turned entire civilizations into fuel for their expansion." Tae-hyun watched in horror as the mechanical monsters overwhelmed world after world. Advanced civilizations that had existed for millions of years were destroyed in days. Nothing could stop them. But humans fought back, So-jin continued. The display showed human warships unlike anything in the current galaxy. They were massive structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. They could appear and disappear like ghosts. They fired weapons that created black holes or froze time itself. Admiral Ye-jin stood on the bridge of the largest ship. Around her, human officers worked at controls that manipulated space and time like clay. They were not just fighting the Devourers. They were rewriting the laws of physics to do it. "How did we build ships like that?" Tae-hyun asked. "Desperation," So-jin replied. "When your enemy can eat planets, you learn to think beyond normal limits. Humans developed technology that other species considered impossible. We learned to step outside reality itself to fight an enemy that consumed reality. The war lasted for centuries. The display showed battles fought in the space between dimensions. Human ships that existed in the past and future at the same time. Weapons that could erase an enemy from history itself. Slowly, the Devourers were pushed back. One by one, their hive ships were destroyed or trapped in pocket dimensions. The mechanical plague that had threatened to consume the galaxy was finally stopped, but the victory came at a terrible price. "Look at this," So-jin said, changing the display again. Now it showed Earth after the war. The floating cities were gone. The crystal forests were dead. The oceans were dark and empty. The planet looked like a burned shell of its former self. "The war cost us everything," So-jin explained. "Our cities were destroyed. Our population was reduced to a few million survivors. Worst of all, the technology we had created was too dangerous to keep." Tae-hyun saw Admiral Ye-jin in her final recorded message. She looked tired and sad. Behind her, other human leaders nodded grimly as she spoke. "We have become too powerful," the Admiral said. The weapons we built to fight the Devourers could destroy the galaxy as easily as save it. We have become the very thing we fought against. So what did they do? Taehyun asked. Sojin's voice was heavy with sadness. They chose to forget. The surviving humans scattered across the galaxy as primitive tribes. They hid their warships in dimensional pockets where they could not be found. They erased their own history from their minds. The display showed the process. Human scientists using their own advanced technology to reduce their people to Stone Age primitives. Ships the size of cities disappearing into folds in space. Libraries containing the knowledge of the universe being destroyed. But some remembered, Sojin continued. A few families were chosen to guard the secret, to maintain the technology, to watch for signs that the Devourers might return. My family was one of them. Taehyun stared at her. You've known about this your whole life? My grandmother told me the stories when I was little. I thought they were just fairy tales until my mother showed me the truth. Every generation we have waited. We hoped we would never need to wake the sleeping fleet. But now the galactic civilizations are threatening us, Taehyun realized. They want to inspect our technology, Sojin nodded. They don't understand what they're asking for. The current galaxy was built on the ruins of the Devourer War. Every major civilization found ancient battlefields and reverse-engineered the technology they discovered. They built their entire cultures on the scraps of our victory. Taehyun's mind reeled. You mean the Veltari energy manipulation? The Korth space drives? The Sylvan crystal matrices? All based on Devourer technology that we destroyed, Sojin confirmed. They think they discovered these advances on their own. They have no idea they're using the tools of our ancient enemies. The display showed archaeological sites across the galaxy. Veltari scientists studying strange metal fragments. Korth engineers copying engine designs they found in space debris. Sylvan artists creating crystal art based on patterns they found in asteroid fields. None of them realized they were looking at the remains of a war they had never heard of, a war fought by a species they considered primitive. The irony, Sojin said bitterly, is that they're threatening us with weapons we taught them to build. They're using our own victory against us. Taehyun sat down heavily. So what happens now? Sojin walked to a window that showed the ocean surface far above. Now we show them the truth. The sleeping fleet is waking up. Ships that have waited 50,000 years for this moment are returning to normal space. Will they attack the galactic civilizations? No, Sojin said firmly. That's not what they were built for. They were built to protect life, not destroy it. But the galaxy needs to understand its real history. They need to know that their entire civilization exists because humanity chose mercy over dominance. She turned back to Taehyun. Your job is to document everything. When this is over, when the fleet reveals itself, someone needs to tell the true story. Someone needs to make sure the galaxy never forgets again. Taehyun nodded slowly. And if they don't believe us? Sojin smiled grimly. They will believe us. When they see a ship that can bend reality itself, they will understand that some stories are too incredible to be lies. Above them, ancient systems were coming online. Deep in the ocean, machines that had slept for millennia were stirring. The children of Admiral Yejin were about to inherit their true legacy.